I'm bored, so I'm going to share a email marketing framework that I use for all the life brokerages that I currently work with. So number one on this list is results orientated. Wow, I cannot spell. And the reason it's results oriented is for many reasons, but we'll kind of go through them one by one. And so reason number one is you don't want to come across as a life broker, which may sound weird because you're like, Trevor, I am a life broker. No, 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 no. You're not a life broker. You are a licensed financial professional. You do not say you're not a life broker here to sell life insurance products. You use your life license as a licensed financial professional to sell strategies. And I'm sure you may or may not be bored running through this. Most of you watching this probably already do this already, but just hear me out. It'll get a lot more interesting as we go on. You sell strategies that the wealthy people use. You sell strategies like IRS code 7702. You sell strategies you sell strategies utilizing fixed products with the ultimate goal of increasing the wealth of your clients. That's what you position yourself as. So, because it's results orientated, let's say you have like, and this is probably a very, very low number. Let's say you have 10 or more successful clients that you've done IULs or annuities or whatever for, right? Obviously, swap out the names and amounts, but here's again, I cannot spell for the life of me, but you swap the names and the amounts out of those 10 successful clients for like compliance purposes, right? Because when you're doing an email, you don't want to do this. Something like, hello, name. My name is name. I would like you to please buy my product slash service. I really need crack right now very badly. Please help. Right? You don't want to sound like that. Which if you but if your email is something more like is something more like this, copy the wealthy or whatever is in the subject line of your email, right? And then after the subject line, it's hey name. Then you insert some rapport. God, okay, I promise, like I'll be able to spell eventually, but okay, whatever. I'll fix that. I'll fix that thing, the thing in post. But this is where you insert some rapport. So the rapport you might do might be something like something like I work with just insert insert your clients, right? So like I work with XY, I've recently worked with XYZ company if you're doing business to business stuff, if you're doing business to personal stuff, you might do things like I recently helped, or if you're doing and along those lines, right? A point is to just make it so that you're talking about things that you've done, not can do or are planning on doing, which life brokers like yourself may or may not get in the trouble with. But if you have 10 or more things, right, then as an email thing, you could say like, so subject lines, copy to wealthy. Um, this little known strategy, free training on insert topic if you're doing like VSL or webinar funnels and stuff like that, which will have separate videos on their own time dedicated to. The point is you want to have the framework be results oriented. So you want to address them, address them, talk talk about yourself, right? As little as possible. And the reason you want to talk about yourself as little as possible because you want to talk about I help this person, I help this person, I help this person, I help this person. It can come really, really easy to come across as me, I, right? What you want to do instead is something a little which so again, results oriented, but not too much about yourself. I actually just kind of have this in my mind when I run clients, when I run stuff for clients. This is just my first time talking about the framework, right? So you might go things like talk about yourself as little as possible. So then what's number two in the framework? A free deliverable. And the reason you want to have a free deliverable is because you want people to opt in, right? For me, when I run my stuff, I've done a couple webinars, I've done VSL stuff. I like VSLs a little bit more because they're slightly more automated and I don't have a lot of patience or a lot of bandwidth because I tend to get in the weeds of stuff I'm doing for people that I'm working with, so I fail to do some stuff for myself. But the oh my god, okay, all right, I'll get back to that later. But the idea here is that you want a free deliverable. So this would be your VSL or like video sales letter, right? This is basically a landing page with some testimonials and some review and some five-star reviews on the bottom. Then you have a video talking about what your products and services are for and who they're not for, pretty much. You might even do a webinar. Basically, this is sort of like if you're a life broker and you're older in age, this is basically a dinner seminar or a seminar event, but done virtually, basically. So it really cuts costs, and you can have an infinite number of people attending, like essentially just joining a Zoom call where you talk about how great you are pretty much. And the reason you do these frameworks, or honestly even just going straight to a free consult at the bottom, the reason you would do that, the point is you're just trying to make it so you're just trying to make things as automated as you're trying to make things as automated as possible. In other words, you're trying to make it so that you can overcome every single objection that someone might have regarding cash value policies or annuities before they even speak to you. Because again, if you go to the previous part of the framework, one, it's not life broker, it's licensed financial professional. You use these products in order to in order to increase and generate the wealth for your clients. It's not like that's what it's for. If someone was just looking to do like if someone was just looking for like a term insurance policy or whatever, they can just go on Google and type term insurance buy, and then they could just buy it. They fill in some information. You got to separate yourself from the competition by customizing things. That's one of the more, not highest. It's one of the more logistical ways that you as a consultant can go about things. And honestly, when you customize things and you do things and you can start doing things at that level where you can customize things fairly easily, that's where you end up getting more respect as a consultant. And this is cross industry with consulting. This really works with my stuff. It's like because I do fully customized stuff from the top down. That's what I do, and that is a lot more useful. And that is a lot more useful to the people I work with because I don't have a thing where it's like, oh, you buy it, okay, buy. Right. We as consultants, we stick around with our clients, we check in and a few other things because one, it increases our lifetime order value basically. And it also makes it super easy to get our reviews and our case studies and our testimonials because we are more involved with our clientele than, say, something like, I don't know, Coca-Cola, for instance. It's like once you buy a Coca-Cola and you drink a Coca-Cola, that's really it, unless you feel like buying another Coca-Cola. That's it. That's the gist of it. So basically, that's why we do the VSL webinar or some kind of free consultation because we want them to speak to us. But if we don't feel like having them speak to us immediately, then what we can do instead is we can put them in even longer nurture sequences. And that is why the first item was the testimonials, because now we're going to take those testimonials and we're going to take those testimonials and we're going to use them right before our call to action. So for instance, one of my clients, I'm doing his email market. This is kind of what reminded me that I wanted to make this video 2 weeks ago ish. Basically, is I got some case studies and some testimonials of names, amounts, stuff like that. I swapped them out for some compliance reasons and stuff like that. And so what I'm doing with him, I'll actually show you in a moment. But the idea here is as many testimonials as possible because we're going to put them right before our call to action, which is, the thing that gets them to opt in, right? The thing that turns an email list into customers is making it so that they have something to opt into later, pretty much. So now we have where they're coming. So now we have where they're coming from, which is we made an email list. We have where we have what we're sending to them, which is a little bit of an introduction, a little bit of a hook, some case studies and testimonials, and we have a place to put them. Now we're gonna put this in an email format. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pause this video real quick, and then I'm just gonna do the boring part of writing this out. Then I'll unpause it and we'll talk a little bit more about some more technical stuff because I don't want this video to be longer than 20 minutes. So yeah. Okay, that took me way longer than expected. But the final two bullet points in the framework is to keep these emails very short, basically. And then after you send this initial email, what you do is you send a case study every 3 days. Then after that, then when you run out of case studies, which you probably shouldn't in general, like if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, you'll probably never run out of case studies, but this is basically what happens if and when you do. You send more and more case studies every like one every 3 days. Then once you hit that, then you just wait a week and then restart the sequence again. This is mainly for like an indoctrination sequence, which is what I like to do, but there are other strategies where you just get like a huge list and then you just do carte blanche email spam basically. And if you get like a 1% open rate on, like if you get a 1% opt-in rate and you send 500,000 emails or whatever, which you shouldn't do because you get into like spam and all that stuff, and it ruins your domain. But that's a separate convo for a separate time. We only got 5 minutes left. But here's sort of the reasons why these templates work for me. Now, I don't even want to say templates because I do different emails for different people, but still follow more or less the same framework. So I'm keeping it with IRS code 7702 because that's sort of the easiest thing to talk about. It's the framework is reduce your overall tax liability and increase the amount of money that you may or may not have in your various retirement accounts, basically. So this one, copy the wealthy, the tax-free strategy, the wealthy don't talk about. This is where you'll talk about case studies like Walt Disney and a few others. But it's just kind of like you're just trying to bring people to like a VSL or a webinar this with this particular framework, because you don't want to have like a 40-minute appointment with them where you're going over a bunch of different like highly technical stuff and they're like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. I just don't want to do this anymore. Right. So then you kind of lose the sale because you get too technical. Series 7 people get really, really, really technical is something that I've noticed just kind of in general. But then there's the other one, free training. It's very, very similar to the VSL template, but you kind of have to be there for a Q&A section for the Q&A section of a webinar if you're doing webinars. And if you're doing a Q&A section at the end, I think you should have a Q&A section at the end. You have like a 45-minute video or whatever, and then you just stick around for like 15, 20 minutes. That's why it's not as automated because of the nature of how it works. But then this is sort of the case study template. Again, you can just steal everything in this framework if you want to implement it for yourself. I'm obviously not going to write your entire email copy because if you're watching this, we're probably not working with each other. But this is more or less the framework that I use. And then this is the case study template. The subject line is some kind of free is some kind of just put a free deliverable at the end and make it something worthy that they would want to click on, like reducing their overall tax liability. Literally everyone in the United States wants that, basically. So and then again, it's I recently worked with a client who wanted insert deliverable. Here's one of the things I did for them, keeping the other stuff locked basically behind the VSL and the webinar. So I hope this framework works out for you. I'll be putting this Google Doc link in the chat if you want to check it out. And yeah, I'm gonna end this one early. So later.